Hello YouTube, this is Froogle. Welcome back to part 2 of our introduction to the Dash 8. You'll remember that we are at St. Maarten. How the hell we got here, I have no idea. And we are taking 20 party animals who partied a little bit too hard here last night up to Princess Juliana, where we'll be picking up the rest of the passengers and flying home to Miami. Now the problem with St. Barts is this runway is very old, very bumpy, and very, very short. It also ends in the ocean and a hill. So this is going to be a max takeoff power takeoff with flaps 15, as you'll remember from the last video. It is raining already, which is not very good, but we'll see how well we do. Let's run through the checklist here. Let me turn off track IR while I'm checking checklist, otherwise you'll get dizzy. Okay, so now we have a flow. The captain's before takeoff flow. So first, check our trims. Should all be white, which they are, and zeroed, which they are. We're good. That trim is probably a little bit too much. We'll find out when we take off. Takeoff warning test, we need to do that. Should hear a little bing, bing, bing. There is a takeoff warning test there. Bing, bing, bing. We're good. Alright, flight and taxi switch now gets switched into flight mode. It's already gone into flight mode because I was a little bit aggressive in how I lined up. Our anti-collision lights need now go on to white and strobe. So white. I actually forgot to turn on taxi lights. Now they're on. We will turn on the rest of the lights as well at this point. Good to go. Now we have the first officers before takeoff flow. Flight attendant notification. So flight attendants, take your seats. Transponder and TCAS needs to be on. The way we do that is we click and hold this button right here. On, out. Control lock gets released at this point. We need full travel on the power throttles. Flight controls, check them. They're all good. Good. Everything seems to be working. All the needles are moving exactly as they should. Condition levers, check that they are max. Terrain or radar display, choose your preference. We don't really care right now. Fuel, confirm the required and on board. We could do that. Let me just do that. Click on fuel systems. Whoops. Let's go over there. Fuel systems. And we'll zip on over to that screen and take a look. Should be about 3,000 pounds on board. There are, or less. Yeah, 3,000 pounds, 1.5 in each tank. We are good to go. So we're going to switch his display back onto nav. Not that there's anybody sitting there. They abandon us because they know what we're about to try and do, which is get a Dash 8 off a very, very, very short runway. So I'm going to turn track IR back on now. Now what I need to do is increase the power here. Having increased the power, this is just a problem I found with the sim. I need to get those power levers moved up. Otherwise, M-top resets to N-top. Max takeoff power, 100%. So I'm going to increase the engines now, power all the way up to 100%, holding the brace with my feet. Now I've actually already noticed a problem. We're actually going to turn not to the south, we're going to turn the other way. Yeah, we're going to turn the other way. Alright, power's good, brakes off. We're actually going to turn left, not right. We'll figure that out in a little bit. Alright, very short runway, very bumpy runway. You can see I'm already getting pushed around quite a bit. 60 knots, 70 knots, holy crap. 90 knots, come on. V1, rotate now. How's that then? Gear up. Are we clenched? That's intense, right? Now try to hold a nice stable climb here. We're actually going the wrong way because I had the heading set in incorrectly, so I'm going to fix that right now while we're doing this climb here. I'm going to spin that around to north-ish. There. And we're climbing up to 4,000 feet. Our speed's coming up, so we're going to bring these flaps up now. Gently, I'm going to trim because I'm holding full forward pressure on the yoke at this point. And when things calm down, I can start running through checklists. Flaps 5 now. Alright, let's engage the autopilot at this point. Here we go. Out select is dialed in. It's going to turn us on the heading. Okay, so let's move to the right checklist, which should be the after takeoff initial climb checklist flow. Sorry. So flaps now should be up. Here they come. I'm going to reduce the power a little bit. I'm actually going to reduce the condition levers back to 900. That's part of the flow as well. Auto feather now can go off. Those 2 aux pumps can go off. These hydraulic pumps can go off. Watching my speed, don't really want to get above 200, just personal preference. M-top, we're not going to worry about that, that's already gone off. Aux pump switches are off. Standby hydraulic pressure is off. PTU pumps are off. Bleed should go on to normal, which is up here. Taxi lights. Obviously I can go off. We're under 10,000 feet. We're going to keep the rest of the lights on. Pressurization panel is checked and ice protection is good. Alright, that's the end of the initial climb flow. Not much else to worry about. We can actually run through the climb checklist if we wanted to. I'm not really going to. We kind of covered it already in that flow. So now we can kind of relax. Now what I'm doing is watching here to make sure my speed doesn't really go over 200, just personal preference, and that we do actually level off at 4,000. Looks like everything's good. Pulling back on the power now that we're leveling off and not climbing. And we can breathe. Breathe. Okay, so you will see that Princess Juliana at this point is 2 hours left. You can see the white arrow here. We'll just run down here. So there's the VOR needles, there's the white arrow. We've actually dialed in 288, which is where we need to be, the radial we need to be on when we overfly Juliana. We could actually accept it right now if we want to. Let's not. Let's actually head the other way and look at the scenery here, and I'll show you how some of this Autoflight system works. So you've already seen some of this in practice. With us in heading select already, if I start rolling this, we will start turning. So we're actually going to go the opposite direction. So we can take a look at the island. It's raining. Typical tropical day. You do have to monitor all this stuff. If things get a little bit out of whack, you will find it's no longer holding altitude. You'll start climbing or descending. You've already seen my speed there trying to run away with me. There is no auto throttle on the Q400. You need to manage it all yourself. So pulling back on the throttles a little bit right now. Now, we've come out of the climb, so typically good practice is to reduce condition levers to 850. There. That will drop some speed off as well. Where's the island? It's a very small island, St. Barts. There it is off to the right. There. So let's actually keep on turning and we can go and see that in a little bit more detail. Because I want to show you how altitude works on this Autoflight system here. It's a little obscure. Or old school. So we currently got altitude hold of 4,000. Let's say that we wanted to be at 3,000. The way that that currently works, or the way that always works, is you change the altitude here down to 3,000. That is the altitude at which you want the Autoflight system to hold you at. Dial it in, click Alt-Cell. That ping you just heard tells us we are within 1,000 feet of the desired altitude. Now, having done that, we need to click on VS and then pitch the nose down. So VS, we're going to go nose down, just a gentle descent, 500 feet per minute. So 2 minutes time, we'll be at 3,000. Notice we started to descend. The speed will start to climb. So bring the power back. That is how the altitude system works in the Q400. There is St. Barts now coming into view. Let's turn on the weather radar actually now while we're up here, because this rain's looking a little bit concerning. He's got the weather radar up here. I've got terrain over here, he's got weather. Nothing immediately visible, so that's good. There's St. Barts, that's where we just came from. We're descending now to 3,000, trying to keep the speed down. Oh, there it is. Look at these reds. That's severe rain, thunderstorms. Quite a lot of them coming up. Let me increase the brightness of that. The reason I'm kind of doing all this as well is just to show you guys a little bit more detail than we did in the first impressions. You have a lot of control in the cockpit over every aspect of this aircraft, including these displays. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Alright, enough messing about. Let us go and head towards Princess Juliana, where we'll be doing our visual approach. We're going to fly directly to Princess Juliana, then turn on to its VOR radial 288 for 10 miles, at which point we will turn back and then land. There is no ILS at Princess Juliana. It is all done visually. Should be interesting, especially with this rain and slight wind there. This scenery I mentioned in the previous video is Fly Tampa's scenery. It's actually the compilation collection of St. Maarten, St. Barts, and Saba, the other one. It's actually very, very good, as you can see. Not a big hit on the frame rates either. Oh, coming up on 3,000 feet. Watch what happens at 3,000 feet. See the alt just lit up there? It will start to ease up our descent now. It should hold us at 3,000 feet. You need to watch your speed and adjust the throttles accordingly as we fly over the harbour here of St. Barts. Alright, so power back now. Let us set our heading. Little trick for you. The white needle points at the VOR. So we're going to set our heading on the tip of that white needle. That will fly us to Princess Juliana. We already have a course set in, which is the course we want to take once we get there. And here we go. Over to Princess Juliana now. Very, very short flight. Only a minute or two to get there. It's just the fact that this is an island and the party guys were down here. Oh, look at all the boats. See all the sailing boats down there? Party guys down here had no other way of getting back to Princess Juliana today, St. Maarten today, so we thought we'd pick them up. And while we're here, do a bit of sightseeing and make them vomit. Because they got hungover. That'll teach them. Now we're 17 miles away. Trying to keep my speed around about 190 to 200. It's actually dropping a bit there because we're in a turn. Look at that rain system. Ugh. What we're going to do as we get a lot closer, maybe 5 miles, 6 miles out, is we're simply going to switch this. You remember that when we set this aircraft up, we put it in heading hold. We're going to click on nav next, and it will intercept that radio, which is exactly what we want, and then fly us out. And at 10 miles out, we will turn back. Now the approach course into Princess Juliana is 096. So we will need to dial that in before we get there. I'm just changing my checklist here 1 second as well. So what we will do is once we intercept that radio, we'll actually dial in a heading of 096, and then we'll do heading hold to get back on to the heading towards the airport. We'll then set the course also to 096, and then fly the radio straight to Princess Juliana. And that should line us up in the absence of an ILS. This is St. Maarten up here. Princess Juliana is right about there. Rain not really affecting us too much. As I said in the previous video, the views here, I'm using Track IR, but my views that's floating around the cockpit is being managed by EasyDock camera system. The weather is being handled by Active Sky on a different computer, and the weather textures are Rex. 10 miles out now from Princess Juliana. We're actually a little off course. Notice our heading is left of the white needle, so we're just going to dial the heading right a little bit. We want to properly overfly that. As we get to Princess Juliana as well, we'll bring up ATIS and just check the weather there and conditions. Very pretty scenery. Fly Tampa do make some incredible scenery. Now Princess Juliana is quite a famous airport because it's the one that you see on all the videos where the end of the airport is actually the beach. So they get a lot of heavy aircraft in here, 757s, I think 777s, 737s definitely, Airbus definitely. So you see a lot of party people kind of clinging onto the wire fence at the end of the runway and trying to hold on during the jet blast, or sunbathing on the beach while a jet passes about 50 feet over their head. It's a pretty incredible place. I'm actually going on a cruise there later this year, and I intend to spend a couple of happy hours on that very beach getting blown around. There's a cruise ship over there, you see it? That's my cruise ship that I'll be coming in on. 5 miles now to the airport. Going to get a beautiful view of the airport as we overfly it. Now when we start to turn back, we're going to be descending to about 1,600 feet, which we will hold until 5 miles out on the approach. Then we'll start our proper descent. Finals, I should say. Finals descent to land. Getting blown around a bit. Quite a rainy day. Now I actually said in my first impressions video the weather radar doesn't work in this. It does. I was actually corrected by Majestic on that. So my apologies to Majestic. Now I'm kind of watching this blue line to see if it starts shifting. And we will click on nav. 2 miles. That's going to start moving any second. 1 mile. Surprised that's not moving yet. Half a mile. We will click on this now. So we're in heading select VOR. There it goes. Yeah, it failed to pick it up. Wings levels means it failed to pick it up. So we're going to manually dial in here 288. Not a problem. And we'll do heading hold. And away we go. So out to the ocean now and then flying back in. Quite hard to see the VASI lights or the landing lights on approach to this runway as well, which is going to make life very interesting. Okay, so as we come up on 10 miles out now, what I'm going to do is reduce the speed down to about 180. That'll let us feed in the first stage of flaps. At 10 miles, we're going to start our turn round. So I'm going to feed in a new heading here. Actually got us onto the radial. Had to cut the video. Got us onto the radial now. So I'm going to put in a heading of 096. And then as we're doing the turn, we'll tune in the 096 radial to put us on the actual approach to Princess Juliana. There's 10 miles right there. So let's go ahead and do heading select. It's actually gone the wrong way. Let's change that up a little bit. There we go. Heading select. Okay, so left turn. A little bit of off. Again, doesn't matter too much. It would matter if we were flying full instrument approaches, but we're not. Okay, there's my speed now at 180, so I'm going to increase my power. We're going to drop our altitude now down to 1,600 feet. 1,800, 1,700, 1,600. Vertical speed, want to be dropping at about 1,000 feet per minute. Like so, down that goes. We'll need to come back off the power. Let's adjust this heading round to 096, as we said. In fact, we'll actually go a little bit over so we can re-intercept that radial. I'll start tuning the course in now. Course of 096 as well. Oh, speed's climbing up. Power off there. 1,000 feet to go. There we go. Nav. And that will establish us on that radial, straight to Princess Juliana. So we're a little bit over the 10 miles that we wanted to be at. Not a problem. It gives me some time to talk to you and talk you through everything. So dropping our speed down to 180, which will let us deploy the first stage of flaps. Once we're established on that radial, then we can run through the flow for landing as well. There we go. Speed's coming down now. So let's kick in that first stage of flaps. There it goes. Getting us nicely lined up on that radial. Speed's dropping now. Oh, it's lost us again. Heading. Let's see if we can re-intercept that. Again, this is why it's not a problem. We're slightly over that 10 miles. Not going to run through the landing flow until we are properly established. Okay, so let's try that once again. Got a nice intersect heading going on now. Oh, there goes our altitude as well. Vertical speed up. I didn't press altitude select. Remember that, kids. Altitude select every time. Nav. Okay, VOR, altitude select, climbing at 700 feet, up to 1,600, which is where we want to be. Hopefully now it will intercept properly. Okay, let's run through our landing flows. So landing gear now needs to come down. My speed is already quite considerably dropped. We want that speed to come down to about 130. My VREF is actually 117 for the weight that I'm at from their checklists. There we go, VOR intercept. So I'm going to hold the speed around about 130. Landing gear down, standby and PTU pumps now both go on. Auxiliary pumps also go on. Did I click that? There we go. We're not going to reduce that. We are going to go condition levers max at this point. Bleed flow knob, we need to go to minimum. And we need to notify the flight attendants. Like so. that we're now coming in for landing. Watching that speed now, 140, which is great. For those of you a little rusty with landings, you control your rate of descent with the power, you control your speed with the pitch. You want to try to hold a fairly constant rate of descent. I'm going to feed in another level of flap. There we go. Flaps 10, we are landing at flaps 15. Speed is coming down. I want to establish myself about 135. There is a runway right there. 5 miles, well 5.7 miles. At 5 miles we will start our proper descent here. Right, next stage of flaps, full flaps for landing. Flaps 15, gear down, 3 green, clear to land. So autopilot off. Let's see if we can do this. Bit of a crosswind here, which is not helping our cause. There's 134 on the speed. We'll try to hold about 135 if I can. There are lights, landing lights either side of the runway. They are not very easy to see in the flight tamper scenery. So until we get a lot closer, it's very, very much how does it feel? feet coming up. Speeding a little bit of trim there. Having a hard time holding the yoke. It's very bumpy, as you can see. 1,000 feet. I think we're a little high. I can just make out the lights. They seem all white. So reducing power. I think I see 2 red, 2 white. It's so hard to see on these lights. And you are pretty much going to skim the beach as you come in. The key with the Dash 8 as well when you land is don't chop the throttle. You should just be established and flare and just let it settle. Feels a little funky. Feels like it's going to take off again. Nice crosswind.
500.
I am a little bit high. Let's correct that. Coming back on glide slope now. Wave to the bathers on the beach. Wonder how much it costs to get a room in that hotel. Wouldn't that be awesome? Still a little bit too high.
Minimums. Minimums.
There we go. Now we're on the slope.
100.
We'll be off the center line
40, 30, 20, 10.
And grease it. Reverses up. My heart's beating. Now those are the 2 exits. There is an exit there. I don't think we're going to be able to make it. We might do. Oh, we can make that. Alright, reverses off. After landing checklist. Well, let's get off the runway and we will run through the after landing checklist, such as it is. So track IR back on, it helps me taxi. Full left rudder. Turning that tiller now. We'll just get up to this yellow weight line. I call them weight lines before I get comments saying there's not a weight line. I call them weight lines. And we will stop here and run our checklist. Alright, so the after landing checklist. Radar needs to go off. Let me turn track IR off or you're going to go very, very dizzy. Okay, transponder, we're going to leave that right on. Flaps now can come up. So there they go. Auxiliary fuel tank pumps. Auxiliary pumps off. The other pumps up here can also go off. Yaw damper can come off. Flight and taxi switch should now be in taxi, which it is. Exterior lights as required. They are all good, although taxi light can go on. Main bus tie now gets tied. Ice protection as required, we don't need it. We will actually start the APU though, so power on. Let it run its test. Whack start. Wait for that to get ready to go. While that's running up, we will start our taxi. So track IR back on. A little bit of power. Just going to taxi to a gate up here. Pick up the rest of the passengers, which will be the next set of videos, as we do a very long flight, almost max range from here to Miami. A little bit too much power there. There we go, APU is now available. Pick a gate, any gate. Let's go for this one. Again, the smoothest way of turning this is full rudder. Then bring in the tiller. And then conversely, you come off the tiller and then off the rudder. That keeps it fairly smooth. So I'm still full rudder. I have come off the tiller now. Beta on the propellers brings us to a stop. One thing I did miss actually was turning the control lock on. That should have been on just now. Let's put the brake on and we're good to go. Now we could run the shutdown checklist, which we're not going to. Hope you've enjoyed this. Watch out for the next part of this series, which will be this flight, as I said, from St. Maarten here all the way down to Miami with a full load, almost max range. As always, my name is Froogle. If you've not checked it out yet, please do check out facebook.com/FroogleSim. You get to see some behind the scenes stuff on these videos, as well as the opportunity to chat with me, which is quite hard to do on the YouTubes. Thanks for watching, guys.